Welcome to WealthRise Stories, where clarity meets knowledge, and knowledge becomes financial power.
Hey there, amazing friends of the WealthRise Stories channel, and a warm welcome to those of you just stopping by today. Have you ever felt like this? You sit down at your desk early in the morning, coffee in hand, staring at a never-ending to-do list. You dive into your computer answer messages on your phone, jump from one deadline to the next, and hustle through back-to-back meetings. Before you know it, it's 5 p.m., then 6, maybe even 8. You're completely drained, mentally exhausted. And yet, when you look back on your day, you catch yourself wondering, what did I actually accomplish today that truly mattered? If that question keeps haunting you, I've got news, not bad news, but something that might change the way you look at work forever. Today, I'm going to tell you a truth that may shock you. You might be wasting up to 80% of your working hours. 80%. Sounds insane, right? Like I'm just exaggerating to grab your attention. But trust me, this isn't some random number I pulled out of thin air. It's based on observations and research conducted over 100 years ago. And the scary part, even though the world has changed dramatically, our tools, our technology, this core issue still exists even in today's digital age. Why hard work doesn't always equal results. We grew up being told that hard work is the key to success. Hustle harder, grind it out, push yourself to the limit. And so we work like busy little bees, staying late at the office, working weekends, sacrificing sleep and family time, trying to conquer that endless mountain of tasks. But have you ever stopped to ask, does working harder really mean working better? Does pouring more time and energy into something automatically lead to better results? If you're anything like me, and I'm guessing many of you are, you've probably found yourself trapped in that vicious cycle. We work more, but sometimes feel like we achieve less. We're constantly busy, but not necessarily effective. The 100-year-old secret behind tech CEO's success. So what's the secret to escaping this trap of being busy but unproductive? Interestingly, the secret isn't some trendy TikTok hack or a pricey online course. It's over a century old. Yes, you heard that right, more than 100 years. And it's being used by some of the greatest minds of our time, top tech CEOs who've built billion-dollar empires. From Ford's assembly lines, to Google's optimization algorithms, to Amazon's product development processes, this forgotten principle has quietly shaped the modern world. A principle that isn't about working harder, but working smarter with intention and scientific precision. You might wonder, how can something so old still be so powerful today? Because it's not about trendy philosophy, it's a principle, a scientific framework you can measure, analyze, and apply to any kind of work. Whether you're a programmer, a designer, a project manager, or even a stay-at-home parent, it's been buried under a flood of productivity hacks and clickbait shortcuts, but its power is still very real. What if you could do 8 hours of work in just 3? Imagine this. What if you could finish a full 8-hour workday in just 3 hours? Sounds like sci-fi, right? A pipe dream. But over 100 years ago, someone didn't just dream about it, they actually proved it's possible. Not by working like a maniac, but by breaking down work, analyzing it, optimizing it. Now think about it. If you could free up 5 extra hours a day, you could invest in personal growth, spend more time with family and friends, pursue a passion or hobby, or simply rest, recharge, and avoid burnout. This isn't a magic pill or some meditation technique. This is a revolutionary mindset, one that restructured the entire way we think about production time and work itself. Discover the forgotten principle that could change your work forever. So what's this 100-year-old principle I keep hinting at? It all comes down to one book, one idea that completely transformed how the world views labor and productivity. The Principles of Scientific Management by Frederick Winslow Taylor. Taylor wasn't just a manager, he was a visionary thinker, a researcher obsessed with finding the best way to do things with the least waste. He wasn't trying to work harder, he was figuring out how to work smarter systematically and scientifically. He believed that every task has a best way to get it done, and our job is to find it. And no, this isn't just some old-school factory mindset. Think of it as applying analytical thinking and workflow optimization to your work, your life. In this video series, we're not just going to learn the history of scientific management. We're going to break down its core principles, the timeless lessons Taylor uncovered, and show you exactly how to apply them yourself so that you can stop wasting 80% of your time and become a more productive, effective, and happier version of yourself. Don't miss out. Hit like, share this video, and subscribe to WealthRise Stories. Next up, we start digging into this treasure trove of forgotten wisdom. Have you ever felt like you're just running in circles, working your tail off, yet the workload keeps piling up, the emails never stop, and you somehow never seem to have enough time or energy to do the things you actually care about? Maybe deep down, you're craving something that could help you bring order to the chaos. Work more efficiently, more intelligently, and finally breathe again so that you can truly enjoy life. If that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. Because today we're diving into one of the most misunderstood books in the history of management, The Principles of Scientific Management, by Frederick Winslow Taylor. Who was Frederick Taylor, and why is he so controversial? Sounds a little academic dry, maybe even intimidating, right? Frederick Taylor is a familiar name in business and academia. He's widely known as the father of scientific management, a philosophy he believed would maximize productivity, eliminate waste, and benefit both employers and workers. Taylor spent his entire life studying work, literally breaking down every motion, every movement, every task with a stopwatch in hand, studying the most efficient way to complete it. His goal: to discover the one best way to do any job so work could be done faster with less effort. But let's be honest, for a lot of people, the words Taylorism or scientific management sound a bit cold, maybe even dehumanizing. You might picture factory lines workers being timed down to the second, treated like parts of a machine. Robots with no room for creativity, autonomy, or humanity. And honestly, I get why some people feel that way. Taylor's ideas have often been criticized for valuing efficiency over people, turning humans into cogs in a system. That kind of image doesn't exactly scream inspiring, does it? But what if we've got Taylor all wrong? Here's where it gets interesting. What if we set aside the stereotypes and take a fresh look at Taylor's ideas? After spending real time studying his work, I've come to a surprising conclusion. Maybe scientific management isn't about turning people into machines. Maybe beneath all the numbers and precision, there's a treasure trove of principles that are not only practical, but actually deeply human. What if, instead of using these ideas to control or exploit others, we use them to liberate ourselves? Think about it. What if you could optimize the way you work? Eliminate pointless steps, cut out wasted time, avoid mindless distractions. How much time and energy would you free up for the things that actually matter? For creativity, meaningful relationships, personal passions, or simply for stillness and peace? That's the lens I'm bringing to this series. Together, we're going to explore how a 100-year-old philosophy, when reimagined for today, might just become your secret weapon for a more efficient, less stressful, and surprisingly more human way of living. So here's my promise: we're not going to dig into Taylor's ideas with the goal of making you work harder or burn out. No. We'll use his principles to build a system, a mindset, that helps you work smarter, not harder. A system that lets you get more done with less effort. We'll learn how to analyze your own workflow, spot bottlenecks, hunt down energy leaks, set clear goals, design workflows that actually make sense, And even more importantly, rest strategically so you can recharge and perform at your best. And let me be clear, we're not talking about running a factory here. We're talking about managing the productivity factory inside you. Imagine your body, your mind, your time as a miniature factory. Every thought, task, and habit is a process on the assembly line. Sometimes everything runs smoothly, and you produce great work. Other times, things jam. You stall. You burn energy without producing anything valuable. Our goal is to become the chief engineer of that internal factory. We'll apply Taylor's mindset to optimize your personal workflow from how you plan. Your mornings manage emails, tackle deep work, all the way to how you rest and recover. We'll design a system that flows smoothly with as little friction as possible, so that the product you create is top tier, your output, your growth, your happiness, your peace. Sounds a little paradoxical, doesn't it? Using a machine-like philosophy to live more freely, more intentionally. But I believe that's exactly where the magic lies. So here's the question I want us to explore together. Can a controversial, century-old book actually be the secret playbook you need to reclaim your productivity, your peace, and your potential in this chaotic modern world? Let's find out. Ready to rethink how you work and live? Then let's get started right now. Welcome to my channel, where we break down timeless ideas from classic books and turn them into practical tools for your modern life and career. I'm WealthRise Stories, your companion on this journey. Today we're kicking off an exploration into one of the most influential books ever written about how we work, The Principles of Scientific Management, by Frederick Winslow Taylor. I know it sounds a bit dry, maybe even academic. But trust me, the principles Taylor introduced over a century ago are shockingly relevant today, especially when it comes to one thing we all care about: productivity. Let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself grinding all day busy from morning till night, only to look back and think, what did I even accomplish? Like a hamster spinning endlessly on a wheel, but never actually getting anywhere. I've been there too. And more than once, I've caught myself asking, why am I wasting so much time on things that don't matter instead of focusing on what really counts? Way back in the early 1900s, Taylor was asking that exact same question while watching steelworkers on the factory floor. And he discovered something that might just blow your mind: a silent, invisible, and deeply insidious enemy of productivity that affects all of us, whether we're working with our hands or with our minds. That enemy is called working by habit, or what Taylor called the rule of thumb. Chapter 1: The Silent Killer of Productivity. Working by habit. So what is this rule of thumb? It's simple. It's that way of working. We just do out of routine, because it's familiar, because everyone else does it, or because we've always done it this way. There's no science behind it, no data, no real thought. It's pure instinct, pure convenience. Think about your workday for a moment. How many rules of thumb are you following without even realizing it? The way you check email. Do you open your inbox every 5 minutes, skim subject lines, reply to the quick wins first, and leave the tougher ones for later, only to forget about them? Or do you batch your emails at set times and focus deeply in between? Let me guess, the first one, right? Been there. The way you organize files on your computer. Do you have a clean, well-thought-out system, or do you toss everything into Downloads desktop or a magical folder named MISC or Stuff and pray you'll find it later? The way you plan your day. Do you wake up, grab coffee, and jump into whatever shows up first? Or do you spend a few minutes setting intentions and prioritizing tasks? These habits feel efficient. After all, they help us react fast. But they're a trap. We're living on autopilot because that's how our brains are wired. Why our brains love routines, even if they're terrible. Our brain is a master at energy conservation. Learning something new that takes effort. A lot of it. But doing something over and over again creates a neural shortcut, like walking on an already cleared path instead of hacking through a jungle. And here's the twist. Even if the path is leading nowhere, we'll keep walking it because it's easy. Change requires uncertainty risk and more mental energy than we'd like to spend. Under constant deadlines and daily chaos, who has the bandwidth to step back, analyze, and innovate? It's easier to just keep going than to stop and think, is this really the best way? But here's the price we pay for that comfort. The hidden costs of just doing it, like we always have. Taylor observed this over 100 years ago, and his insights still ring true today. When we lean on habit, we're quietly sabotaging ourselves. Stagnant productivity. If we don't question how we work, we'll never work better. Everything plateaus or even worsens as workloads grow. Innovation dies, habits block creativity. There's no room for fresh ideas when we're stuck on repeat. We waste resources. Time, energy, money, poof, all gone in inefficient processes. Work quality suffers. Cutting corners might feel fast, until we realize we didn't think things through. Stress builds up. Ironically, working on autopilot often leads to feeling overwhelmed because we're always reacting, never in control. Let's make it real. File chaos. How many hours a month do you lose searching for that important document you swear you saved somewhere? Multiply that across a team, and you've got chaos. Task overload. Instead of using a tool or system, you keep it all in your head. Result: missed deadlines, forgotten tasks, constant stress, meetings without purpose. We all know this one. Show up without an agenda or clear goals, thinking you'll wing it. 1 hour later, you're still talking. Nothing's decided. Everyone's exhausted. Sound familiar? You're not alone. We're all guilty of following these rules of thumb, thinking we're saving time, when really we're sabotaging ourselves. Taylor's warning and his solution. Taylor understood a hard truth. If we want better results, we can't rely on habit, tradition, or instinct alone. We need to think differently. We need a system, and that's exactly what scientific management is all about. Taylor believed every task, no matter how simple, could be studied, measured, and optimized scientifically. No more guessing. No more, that's just the way it is. Just data. Just results. In the next chapter, we're diving into how Taylor did it and how we can apply his core principles to escape the trap of mindless busyness. So don't forget to hit subscribe, click the bell, and stay tuned for Chapter 2, Finding the Optimal Way. See you there. And remember, you don't have to work harder. You just have to work smarter. Hey there, and welcome back to our journey through the principles of scientific management and the ideas that quietly shape the way we work today. If in the previous chapter we laid the groundwork for what scientific management actually is, then today we're going to dive into the heart of that philosophy. Something I personally believe doesn't just apply to factories, but to your own life and personal work as well. Today we're exploring Chapter 2, The Mindset of a Scientist, Replacing Guesswork with Data. The goal of this chapter is to introduce a core principle, a principle with real transformative power, developing a science for every single element of your work by observing, measuring, and analyzing it. Sounds big and abstract, right? Trust me, it's a lot more simple and practical than it sounds. Turn your work into a personal lab. Observe, record, experiment, analyze. I want you to imagine your work, whether you're a manager, a content creator, an office worker, or a student, as a tiny laboratory. In this lab, you are the scientist. And your tools aren't test tubes or microscopes. They're your attention, a pen, and your ability to think logically. So what does a scientist actually do? They follow a process. Observi. This is the first and most important step. Instead of working on autopilot purely out of habit, hit pause and start observing yourself. What exactly are you doing? How are you doing it? Which steps take the most time? Where do you feel like you're wasting energy or brain power? Watch yourself like you're watching a documentary about you. For example, when you're preparing a report, notice how you open files, how you search for data, how you organize information, and so on. Don't judge. Don't criticize. Just observe objectively. 2. Record. If you don't write things down, your observations will fade away as vague impressions. Our brains forget. And worse, we often lie to ourselves without realizing it. So turn your observations into data. How long did each step actually take? Where did you get stuck? How many times were you interrupted? Write it down. Be specific. The more detailed, the better. This is your raw data. 3. Experiment. Once you have data, you don't just stare at it. You use it. This is where you start forming hypotheses and testing them. What if I change the order of these steps? What if I use tool X instead of tool Y? What if I block out a distraction-free time slot just for this task? Dare to tweak one small thing in your process and see what happens. Don't be afraid to fail. Every experiment teaches you something. 4. Analyze. After you experiment, go back to your data. Compare before and after. Did the time go down? Did the quality improve? Did you feel less stressed or more focused? Look for patterns. Draw conclusions. Ask yourself, is this new approach actually better than the old one? If yes, keep it. If no, throw it out and test something else. This is the loop: observe, record, experiment, analyze. It turns even boring, repetitive tasks into a kind of ongoing exploration where you're constantly refining and upgrading the way you work. Simple tools to collect data on you. Does all of this sound a bit too scientific? Don't worry. You don't need fancy tools to get started. In fact, you probably already have everything you need. You're just going to use it with a new mindset. Here are a few simple tools. Time tracking. Do you actually know how much time you spend on things? Most of us think something takes 20 minutes, but it's really 40 or 60. Use a time tracking app. There are tons of free ones. Or go old school with a stopwatch and notebook. When you start a task, hit start. When you finish, write down the time. Be honest. This gives you hard evidence about how you really use your time. Work journal. It's not just about numbers. It's also about how you felt and what blocked you. Don't just write finished task X in 30 minutes. Add notes like, got distracted by email. Had trouble finding data to Y, or much easier after using template Z. These qualitative notes help you understand why things take the time they do and where your real pain points are. Upgraded to-do list. Your to-do list doesn't have to be just a checklist. Turn it into a mini data tool. Next to each task, write estimated time, actual time, quick notes about obstacles or helpful tweaks. Over time, this scientified to-do list becomes a running log of your personal performance data. These tools are not there to control you. They're there to help you discover yourself. They give you a more honest, objective view of how you work, so your decisions are based on data, not guesswork. The power of finding the one best way for your own repetitive tasks. Here's where the magic really happens. When you apply this cycle, observe, record, experiment, analyze to tasks you repeat every day or every week, you'll eventually start to discover your own, the one best way of doing them. And to be clear, the one best way doesn't mean a rigid, perfect method for everyone. It means the best way for you in your current context to complete that specific task. So what happens when you find this best way? You reduce mental load. You no longer have to think, how should I do this, every time you start. The decision has already been made based on real data. Your brain is freed up for higher level thinking and creativity. You boost efficiency. When you cut out unnecessary steps, streamline the sequence, and use the right tools, the time it takes to complete the task drops significantly. You lower stress and fatigue. Work feels smoother with fewer roadblocks and interruptions. You feel more in control. You get more consistent quality. A clear process leads to more predictable, higher quality results. Think about a professional chef. They don't wing it every time they cook a dish. They follow a recipe and a process that's been tested and refined countless times. Your work is no different. Case study. Cutting a weekly report from 2 hours down to 45 minutes. Let's take a super relatable example, writing a weekly report. Right now, this report takes you about 2 hours every time, and it always feels draining. Let's apply the scientific mindset. 1. Observe and record week 1. This week, you decide to scientify your reporting process. You start a timer and write down each step. Open email to find last week's report request, 5 minutes. Open 3 to 4 different Excel files to gather data, 20 minutes. Copy, paste data into the report and fix formatting, 30 minutes with multiple formatting errors that force you to redo sections. Write summary and analysis, 45 minutes interrupted 3 times by messages and emails. Spell check, final review, send 20 minutes. Total 120 minutes, 2 hours. 2. Analyze after week 1. Looking at your notes, you realize finding old emails and files is eating up time. Copy, paste, and formatting is your biggest pain point, slow and error-prone. The writing portion suffers because of constant interruptions. 3. Experiment week 2. Based on that, you come up with some hypotheses. Hypothesis 1. Create a dedicated folder with all the necessary data files. A pre-formatted report template. This should fix file hunting and formatting issues. Hypothesis 2. Block a specific time slot on your calendar just for writing the report. Turn off notifications during that period to avoid interruptions. Hypothesis 3. Write a quick outline before drafting the summary and analysis to give structure. 4. Observe and record again week 2. Now you run the process again with your new tweaks and track the time. Open report template and organize data files, 2 minutes. Then identify ordinary 2 minutes. Copy paste data into the template with almost no formatting fixes, 15 minutes. Write summary and analysis using your outline, no interruptions, 25 minutes. Quick spell check and send 3 minutes. Total 45 minutes. You've just gone from 120 minutes down to 45 minutes. The report is better, clearer, and more consistent. You feel calmer, less rushed, and more in control. That's your version of the one best way for this task. And here's the key point. You don't need a PhD in science to do this. All you need is a bit of curiosity, a bit of discipline to write things down, and a willingness to experiment. Start with one small repetitive task in your work. Turn it into your own tiny lab experiment. Because this isn't just about saving time. It's about taking back control of your work. It's about understanding yourself better. It's about continuous growth. It helps you move from, I think this takes about, I guess this is the best way, to, the data shows this works better. This is the optimal way for me, based on real experiments. In the next chapter, we'll explore how this idea of scientifying work doesn't stop at the individual level, but can scale to teams, organizations, and entire industries, just as Taylor originally envisioned. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Start your own work science experiment today. No lab coat required. I'll see you in the next chapter. I hope you're still feeling energized after everything we covered in the last chapter about optimizing your workflow and finding your own best method. If you haven't watched Chapter 2 yet, I'd actually recommend pausing for a moment and going back, because today we're going to dive into something that might be even more important, people. More specifically, you. Today we're exploring Chapter 3. Choosing and developing the right person that means you from the principles of scientific management. At first glance, you might think, isn't Taylor just talking about how bosses should pick and train workers? Yes, on the surface, that's exactly what he's doing. But if we look at this principle through a more personal lens, I believe it opens up a completely new way of thinking about our own growth. You are the CEO of your own life. Imagine you're not just an employee. Imagine you're the CEO of your own life, the sole owner of a business called you. In that case, Taylor's principle of selecting and training workers suddenly transforms into something much more personal. Understanding your own strengths and weaknesses and deliberately developing yourself in a scientific way. That sounds a lot more compelling, doesn't it? In this chapter, we're going to unpack 4 key ideas. 1. Identify your core competencies objectively. When Taylor needed someone for a specific job in his factory, he would analyze the job requirements, then look for the person who could perform that job most effectively. He didn't rely on vague impressions like, "Oh, that guy seems capable." He relied on observation and data. So what about you? What are the smoothest running machines inside the factory of your life? What are the skills, strengths, and natural traits that you are genuinely great at? Identifying your core competencies objectively requires honesty and a little bit of research on yourself. A. Self-reflection. Ask yourself, what do you do that feels almost effortless to you but seems difficult for other people? When do you feel like you completely lose track of time because you're so absorbed in what you're doing? That's usually a sign you're operating in your zone of strength. What achievements are you most proud of in your work or in your life? What problems do people consistently come to you for help with friends, colleagues, family? B. Objective feedback. Don't be afraid to ask people around you. Close friends, co-workers, former managers, or family. What do you think my biggest strength is? What do you think I do best? It might be uncomfortable, but honest feedback from others often reveals things about us that we can't see on our own. C. Performance tracking. Just like Taylor tracked workers' performance, you can track your own. Which tasks do you complete the fastest with the fewest errors? Where do you receive the most compliments or positive feedback? Which projects have you been part of that delivered standout results? Look at your actual track record, not just what you think you're good at. The goal of identifying your core competencies isn't to brag. It's to know where you should focus your time and energy, which areas you can eventually turn into your own superpowers. This is the first step in building an elite team for the business of your life, where you are the MVP. 2. How to train yourself in new skills the scientific way. Taylor believed that any job could be analyzed, and people could be trained to perform it using the best method. We can borrow that exact principle for our own learning and skill development. But instead of just learning, we're going to learn scientifically. Think of learning a new skill as your own personal science project. A. Define clear goals. What exactly do you want to learn? Get better at public speaking is vague. A scientific goal sounds more like, I want to deliver a 10-minute presentation to 20 people and score at least 8/10 in feedback for clarity and engagement. Specific, measurable. B. Deconstruct the skill. Taylor broke work down into its smallest components. You should do the same with skills. For example, good public speaking actually includes crafting content, structuring a message, designing slides, body language, eye contact, voice control, handling Q&A. Break the big skill into smaller skill blocks. C. Deliberate practice. This is the key. Just doing something over and over doesn't guarantee improvement. Deliberate practice means focusing on a specific sub-skill, practicing it with intention, getting feedback, adjusting, repeating. Example: if you want to improve your body language when presenting, record yourself. Watch the video. Notice, oh, I fold my arms a lot. Then deliberately practice presenting with open gestures instead of closed ones. Create a feedback loop. Practice. Get feedback from others or from reviewing yourself. Adjust. Practice again. Measure and adjust. Ask yourself, how many hours have I actually put into practicing skill X? Has anything measurable improved? Fewer mistakes in your code, faster reports, better feedback on presentations, etc. If you're not seeing progress, is your learning method effective? Are you practicing the right things? Is this skill actually aligned with your strengths and goals? Use proven learning techniques like spaced repetition for memory or Pomodoro for focus. Don't be a passive learner. Turn learning into ongoing experiments where you are both the scientist and the subject. 3. Stop forcing yourself to do the wrong work and learn to delegate. Automate or change your approach. This might be one of the most powerful lessons we can adapt from Taylor. Taylor would never assign a physically weak worker to a heavy lifting job or a slow worker to a high-speed production line. He sought the best fit between person and role. Yet in our own lives, we often try to do everything ourselves, including things we're terrible at hate doing or that drain us way more than they're worth. Realizing that some tasks are simply not your strength is not weakness. It's smart. It's part of optimizing your personal system. Ask yourself, are there tasks you always procrastinate on? Work that makes you tired just thinking about it? Things you do extremely slowly or poorly or with way more effort than others? Then ask, do I really have to be the one doing this? If the answer is no, it's time to manage your work and yourself more scientifically. Delegate. If possible, hand off those tasks at work to someone whose strengths fit the task better. A coworker, an assistant, an intern. In life, hire help cleaning repairs or ask for support from family. B. Automate. With today's tools, a lot of repetitive tasks can be automated. Scheduling emails, tracking finances, routine reports, using AI to draft, sort, or summarize information. C. Find a different approach. If you're not good with details, can you focus on big picture thinking and partner with someone who loves detail? If you hate phone calls, can you solve the same problem through email or chat? Don't be rigid with your methods. D. Eliminate it. Sometimes the best answer is simply stop doing it. Ask, does this task really matter? Does it move me toward any important goal? If not, cut it. Not everything deserves a place on your to-do list. When you delegate, automate, redesign, or eliminate the wrong tasks, you free up time and energy for what you do best, what adds the most value, what brings you the most satisfaction. This is how you optimize the performance of the business that is your life. 4. Build a personal development roadmap based on your own performance data. No scientifically run factory in Taylor's world operated without data. Everything was tracked at output, costs, efficiency. In the same way, our personal development shouldn't just be vague statements like, I want to get better or I want to learn more. It deserves a clear, data-informed roadmap. Your personal development plan should be a living document constantly updated based on A. Your performance data, task completion time. How long do different tasks actually take? Is there inconsistency? Quality of work. What kind of feedback are you getting? Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? How often do you make errors? Energy and engagement levels. Which tasks energize you? Which ones drain you? Track how you feel doing different kinds of work. Learning and growth metrics. How many hours did you spend learning skill X? What courses or books have you completed? Have you applied what you learned? Procrastination patterns. What do you consistently delay? Why? This often reveals skill gaps or misalignment with your strengths. B. How to build your roadmap. Start tracking. Keep a work journal. Use a time tracking app or log things in a simple spreadsheet. Record your activities, time, results, and feelings. Review regularly, weekly, or monthly. Sit down and analyze your data. Ask, where am I strongest? Where am I struggling? Which skills are giving me the best returns? Which tasks should I double down on? And which should I delegate, automate, or drop? Set smart development goals based on your analysis. Set goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. For example, over the next 3 months, I will complete course name on skill and use it to improve specific metric in project name. Adjust continuously. This roadmap is not static. Life changes. You change. Update your goals and methods as new data comes in or as you discover new interests and strengths. A database development roadmap stops you from growing randomly or chasing whatever is trendy. It turns your growth into a deliberate strategy, helping you move forward with clarity and confidence. You can see it now. These principles from Taylor that once sounded cold, mechanical, or factory-like, when we apply them to self-development, they become incredibly human. They give us a powerful framework to understand ourselves, evaluate ourselves, improve ourselves in a systematic, sustainable way, not so we can impress others, but so we can live a more effective, meaningful life on our own terms. So start your self-discovery and self-development journey today. Become the scientific manager of your own life. Thank you for watching or reading. If you found this helpful, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future deep dives. I'll see you in Chapter 4, where we'll explore another hugely important principle: close cooperation and harmony between managers and workers. Or in our case, the harmony between the different versions of you inside your own mind. I hope you've had some meaningful moments of reflection about how you're managing your own life from the previous chapters. Today we're going to dig into what might be the central idea of the principles of scientific management, but not in the way you might expect. Let's explore Chapter 4, the power of cooperation. The manager and the worker inside the same person. Have you ever sat down at your desk, looked at a long to-do list, and felt this intense resistance rising from inside you? That feeling of, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. I know I have to do this, but I keep finding excuses to delay. Of course you have. We all have. Today we're going to dissect that inner drama from a completely different perspective, inspired by none other than Frederick Taylor himself. Taylor talked a lot about cooperation between management and workers to maximize productivity. But what happens if we apply that principle to ourselves? What happens if the manager and the worker both live inside the same person, you? 1. Two roles inside you: the inner manager and the inner worker. Picture this inside your mind. There are two main characters constantly at work. First, there's your inner manager. This is the part of your brain that plans, sets goals, and thinks strategically. This is the voice that says things like, we need to finish this project by the end of the week. The goal is to lose 10 pounds. I have to learn a new skill if I want to move up. The inner manager focuses on what needs to be done and why it matters. They're the architect, the CEO of your life. Then there's your inner worker. This is the part of your brain that actually does things, the one in charge of action and execution. When the manager sets a goal, the worker is the one who rolls up their sleeves and gets to it. Turn on the computer. Write the first email. Go for a 30-minute run. The inner worker is your daily frontline soldier. In an ideal system, these two parts cooperate beautifully. The manager gives clear direction and the worker executes effectively. But reality, not quite that smooth. 2. Why we procrastinate. A breakdown in cooperation between two minds. This is where the drama begins. We all know this scenario. Inner manager: we must exercise every morning. Inner worker: it's cold. 5 more minutes in bed won't hurt. Inner manager: finish this report right now. Inner worker: let's just check the news for a bit. Maybe I should make a coffee first. Oh wait, there are other urgent things I should probably handle. This is procrastination. But it's not just laziness. It's actually a sign of a conflict, a lack of cooperation between your inner manager and inner worker. The manager tends to set big, ambitious, sometimes vague or overwhelming goals. The worker is more realistic. They see the mountain of effort ahead and feel overwhelmed. They don't see a clear path. They don't feel the reward yet. All they see is, this is going to be hard and uncomfortable. When the manager just throws a giant boulder at the worker with no instructions on how to break it down, the worker resists, rebels, and runs away emotionally. And that's exactly why you feel like you want to do something, but just can't get yourself to start. 3. How to negotiate with yourself to get hard things done. So how do we get these two inner roles to cooperate instead of fight? We need to learn how to negotiate with ourselves the way a good manager negotiates and collaborates with their team. A. Break the boulder into pebbles instead of finish the entire report. Try something like, hey, inner worker, all we need to do right now is open the report file and type the title. That's it. Easy, right? Instead of clean the whole house. Say, let's just clean the desk for 5 minutes. After that, you can do whatever you want. This helps your inner worker avoid feeling overwhelmed. They see a small, doable step, not a giant, terrifying task. B. The 5-minute or 10-minute rule. When you absolutely don't feel like doing something, tell your inner worker, we're only going to do this for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, if you still don't want to continue, we'll stop. No guilt. Most of the time, once you start, inertia kicks in. The task stops looking so scary, and you just keep going. And if you really do stop after 5 minutes, you still win because you overcame the initial resistance and started. C. Small, immediate rewards. A good manager knows how to motivate with incentives. So should you. For example, if we finish this section, we'll make a nice cup of coffee. After this 10-minute focus sprint, we'll scroll social media for 5 minutes. If we clear this one small task, we'll take a short walk or stretch break. The key is, the reward is small, it's reasonable, and it comes immediately after the effort. That trains your inner worker to associate effort with a positive payoff. D. Listen to your inner worker's complaints. Sometimes resistance doesn't come from laziness at all. It comes from the task being too vague, too difficult, or lacking tools or clarity. The inner manager needs to ask, why don't you want to do this? Is it because you don't know where to start? Does it feel too complicated? Do we need more information first? When you treat that resistance as feedback instead of a moral failure, you can solve the real problem, and cooperation naturally improves. 4. Build self-discipline on trust, not force. This is the key point. Real self-discipline is not about harsh self-control. It's about building a long-term relationship of trust and cooperation between your inner manager and inner worker. Be clear and specific. The inner manager must give clear, realistic instructions. Not be better or live healthier, but read 10 pages a day. Go for a 15-minute walk after dinner. Keep your promises. If you tell yourself just 5 minutes and we stop, then stop after 5 minutes. If you promise finish this and we'll have ice cream, then actually have the ice cream. When your inner worker sees that your inner manager always keeps their word, trust grows. Next time, there will be less resistance. Acknowledge effort. Don't just point out what you haven't done. Celebrate the small wins. Nice job starting that task today. You did great getting through the first step. Be patient. This relationship takes time to build. There will be days when the worker rebels and nothing gets done. Don't beat yourself up. Rest. Reset. Try again tomorrow with a slightly different approach. When your inner manager and inner workers start working in harmony, you'll notice you procrastinate less. You feel less stressed. You achieve things that used to feel impossible. Your life becomes less like a constant internal battle and more like a well-run system where both parts of you are on the same team. Try applying these techniques this week and watch what happens. I think you'll be surprised by what you can accomplish when the boss and the employee inside you finally start collaborating. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into personal growth through continuous research and experimentation, a crucial principle for ongoing self-improvement. Thanks for sticking with me on this journey. I'll see you in the next chapter. If you've been following along from the beginning, you've probably started to feel just how powerful a scientific mindset can be in your work. We've talked about the importance of setting goals and breaking work down into clear, detailed steps. Today, we're going to dig into another backbone of personal productivity, one that I honestly believe all of us need to master. Chapter 5. Dividing the work due today's work, don't worry about tomorrow's. It sounds simple, right? Who doesn't know how to divide work? But I'm willing to bet that just like the old me, you might be applying it in a less than effective way. I used to think I was a multitasking prodigy, answering emails, brainstorming ideas, and listening to a podcast all at once. I felt unstoppable until I realized I was just lying to myself and worse, burning through my energy for nothing. In the Principles of Scientific Management, Frederick Winslow Taylor introduced an idea that seems simple, but is insanely powerful. Completely separate the work of planning from the work of doing. He noticed that when workers had to simultaneously figure out what to do, how to do it, and then actually do it, their efficiency dropped dramatically. Picture a huge factory for a moment. On one side, you've got the engineers and planners, people at desks, drawing up blueprints, calculating materials, optimizing workflows. On the other side, you've got skilled workers, people on the floor, hammer in hand, welding, assembling, following clear instructions. Those two roles are totally separate. So the question is, how do we apply this principle to managing our personal energy and focus every day? 1. The manager's job. Create a clear, realistic plan. In your own life, the manager is still you, but it's a different version of you. It's the version of you that's calm, clear-headed, not overwhelmed by notifications and deadlines, and the version that can actually think long-term. The job of this inner manager is to sit down usually the night before or early in the morning and create a plan for your day or week that is specific, clear, and most importantly, realistic. Some examples. Instead of work on Project X, try 9:00–11:00 a.m. Write 500 words for the YouTube script intro about Taylor. Instead of do emails, try 2:00–3:00 p.m. Reply to priority emails and schedule meetings. A good plan is specific, you know exactly what you'll do. Clear, you know what done looks like. Realistic, you're not trying to cram 10 hours of work into an 8-hour day. Overloading your schedule doesn't make you ambitious, it just sets you up for burnout and disappointment. When you plan like a true manager, you free your brain from constantly having to ask, what's next? Am I forgetting something? Your manager self has already handled that. You can trust the plan. 2. The worker's job. Focus 100% on what's in front of you. Once the plan is set, it's time to switch roles from manager to worker. This is when you get your hands dirty. Your only responsibility in this mode. Give 100% of your energy and attention to the task in front of you. No worrying about the rest of the day. No thinking about tomorrow's problems. No replaying yesterday's mistakes. Think of a bricklayer. When they're placing a brick, they're not obsessing over, what will the whole building look like when it's done? Will we have enough bricks? They're focused on placing this one brick correctly. That's you. You are the arrow in flight. Your only target is the current task. Everything else is noise. This is how you enter that beautiful state we often call flow, where you're so absorbed in your work that you lose track of time and your productivity skyrockets. 3. Time boxing and Pomodoro. Practical ways to divide work. So how do we make this separation between planning and execution real in daily life? 2 simple techniques. Time boxing. Time boxing means assigning a fixed, uninterrupted block of time to a single specific task. For example, from 9:00 to 10:30, I will only do research for this project. No email, no social media, no other tasks. Your inner manager has already decided what you'll do, when you'll do it, for how long. Your inner worker just has to show up and execute. When the time is up, you move on or take a break. B. Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is like time boxing light. 25 minutes of focused work, 5 minutes of rest. Repeat. Those 25 minutes are your sacred box of time. You are fully in worker mode. No planning, no juggling. When the timer rings, your manager steps in and says, "Great job. Take a break. Reset." Personally, I find Pomodoro incredibly helpful when I'm starting a big, scary task. I'm feeling especially distractible or restless. Both time boxing and Pomodoro train your brain to recognize this is work time, this is rest time. They support the fundamental principle of clearly dividing your work. 4. Why multitasking is productivity's public enemy number 1. We can't talk about dividing work without confronting a huge villain, multitasking. A lot of us, my old self included, feel proud of our ability to check our phones, sit in a Zoom meeting, and type up a report, all at the same time. It feels like we're getting a lot done. In reality, most of what we call multitasking is just constant context switching. Your brain isn't truly doing several complex things at once. It's rapidly switching back and forth between tasks. And every time it switches, it has to refocus, reload context, rebuild mental momentum. It's like opening and closing apps over and over on an old phone. Every switch costs processing power and time. By the end of the day, you're exhausted and weirdly unsatisfied because you've burned tons of energy without producing matching results. When you multitask, you're basically forcing your inner worker to execute tasks and at the same time do the manager's job of constantly deciding what next. Neither role gets done properly. The result? Lower quality work, less deep focus, more stress, less joy. Multitasking completely violates Taylor's principle of clearly dividing work. It blocks you from entering deep focus. It prevents you from producing high-quality output. And over time, it drains your energy and happiness. So here's the key takeaway. Do today's work. Don't worry about tomorrow's. Or more precisely, let your manager self handle tomorrow when you're in planning mode. Let your worker self focus 100% on today's task when you're in execution mode. It sounds simple, but living this way requires awareness and discipline. Try this. Set aside a specific time each day to be your own manager. Plan your day or your next day. During work blocks, be only the worker. No replanning, no juggling, just doing. Pair that with time boxing or Pomodoro and watch what happens. You might be surprised how much more you get done and how much less stressed you feel. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Challenge yourself to apply this principle starting tomorrow. In the next chapter, we'll dive into another powerful aspect of scientific management cooperation and the development of personal capability. I'll see you there. If you've made it this far, I hope you've had some meaningful moments reflecting with me on Frederick Taylor's principles of scientific management. In the previous chapters, we've talked about the importance of finding the one best way, about the role of leadership, and about why a scientific mindset is so powerful in our work. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that I personally find really fascinating and incredibly practical. Not just in factories or production lines, but right at your desk. And even in the way you organize your personal life. That is Chapter 6, Dissecting a Workday. Time and Motion Study for Modern Life. At first glance, this sounds cold industrial, and maybe a bit mechanical, right? Time and motion study immediately brings to mind guys in lab coats with clipboards and stopwatches, pacing around a noisy factory. But here's the twist. Our goal in this chapter is to apply that exact method, but in a totally new way, to analyze and eliminate wasted motions in your everyday work. No cameras, no consultants. You just need a bit of detective mindset and some personal attention to detail. Taylor believed that every job could be broken down into basic motions and then optimized for maximum efficiency. With physical labor, that's easy to imagine. But what about knowledge work? Office work, creative work, like what I am doing right now. How do you optimize a mouse click? Or the way you search for a file? That's where we need a more modern lens. Let's get into it. 1. Record your workday. Without a camera, using a detailed log. The first key to applying time and motion study to yourself is this. You have to become your own neutral observer. You're going to record your workday, not with a camera, but with a detailed log or digital notes. Think of it this way. You're not just capturing what you did, but how you did it, how long it took, and what happened along the way. How to do it. Pick a tool that works for you. This could be a physical notebook, a notes app like Notion, Obsidian, Google Keep, or even a simple Excel Google Sheets file. The key is it has to be easy to access and update during your workday. Track continuously for at least a few days. I know it sounds intense, but try it for 1 to 3 typical workdays. Every time you start a new activity, log it. Note the start time. Write what you're doing. Open email. Reply to email from client X. Search for file Y in folder Z. Switch from app A to app B. Grab water. Check phone. Note when you finish. And very importantly, write down interruptions, moments of delay or procrastination, moments you feel stuck or keep repeating something. For example, spent 3 minutes searching for the script file because I couldn't remember its name. Switched between Word and browser 5 times to look up info. Detail is everything. Don't just write worked on Project X. Write something like, opened Chrome, went to Google Scholar, searched for 3 papers on scientific management, skim titles and abstracts, save 2 PDFs to research folder. How long did that take? 15 minutes. In those 15 minutes, did a notification distract you? Did you open Facebook for just a second? If yes, log it. At first, this will feel annoying and disruptive, but stick with it. This is your first step toward a clear, unbiased view of your own workflow. You're basically creating a video of your workday frame by frame without actually hitting record. 2. Analyze your wasted motions, extra clicks, file hunts, app switching. Once you have your film, it's time to become a true motion analyst. Sit down with your log. Read it carefully. Start underlining and highlighting the waste. Taylor observed workers shoveling coal or laying bricks to find wasted movements. We're going to do the same, but with digital motions, extra clicks. Have you ever thought about how many times you click just to complete a simple action? Examples: opening a folder, clicking into a subfolder, right-click, open with, when you could have just double-clicked the file or set a default program. Clicking on app icons instead of using keyboard shortcuts like Alt+Tab or the Windows key. Each individual click seems trivial, but add them up over a day, a week, a month, and it becomes a big pile of micro waste. B. Searching for files and information. This one is a silent killer of productivity. How long does it take you to find an old report, an image for a presentation, an email with key details? Examples from a typical log. Spent 5 minutes looking for last week's script because the folder is a mess and file names are inconsistent. Searching for a client record in the CRM, had to scroll through pages. Opened 5 browser tabs trying to find a code snippet I know I've used before. That's time and mental energy lost over and over again. C. App switching, context switching. Every time you jump from Word, email, chat, back to Word, your brain has to reboot the context. Maybe it only takes a few seconds, but those seconds come with many focus breaks, a longer ramp-up time to deep concentration. If your log shows constant switching, you'll see just how quickly it adds up. Writing, Slack notification, reply. Back to writing. 30 seconds lost in switching. 5 minutes to get fully focused again. D. Other unconscious motions. Things like checking your phone just for a second, scrolling social media for a bit, getting up to make coffee without a real break intention, staring at the screen because you're not sure what to do next. All of these are motions without meaningful output. Circle them, mark them. Soon you'll start to see a surprising picture of where your time and energy actually leak away. 3. Redesign your workspace. Physical and digital to optimize flow. Once you've spotted the waste, it's time to become the architect of your own workspace. We're not just talking about your physical desk, but also your digital environment where most of your motion happens. The goal: eliminate the waste you've identified and smooth out your workflow. A. Physical workspace. The 5-second rule. Anything you use frequently, notebook, pen, headphones, water, etc., should be reachable in under 5 seconds without stretching or standing up. If you grab something more than 3 times a day and it's far away, move it closer. Keep it tidy. A messy desk, toward time wasted looking for stuff. And often, a messy desk, a messy mind. A clean, organized workspace makes it easier to move, think, and stay focused. Ergonomics matter. Make sure your chair, screen, keyboard, and mouse are set up properly. Less physical strain, probably more comfort, probably better sustained focus. That indirectly reduces unproductive fidgeting, stretching, and micro breaks that aren't really breaks. B. Digital workspace. This is where Taylor would probably faint from shock if he saw how much there is to optimize today. Desktop and file structure. Organized folders. Instead of dumping everything on the desktop, create clear structures like Project A, Project B, reference materials, personal. Use consistent naming, e.g. YYMDD project name file type. Keyboard shortcuts. Learn and use shortcuts for the things you do most. Ctrl+S save. Ctrl+C V copy paste. Alt+Tab switch windows. Windows plus D Show Desktop. This massively cuts down on unnecessary mouse movement. Second monitor if possible. Having two screens can reduce app switching, especially for comparing documents, referencing notes while working on something else. Browser management. Bookmark save. Frequently used sites instead of retyping or searching each time. Tab groups. Group tabs by topic. Project X. Research. Personal. This makes it easier to switch contexts intentionally without drowning in 30 open tabs. Turn off unnecessary notifications, browser pop-ups, email alerts, chat pings. These are enemies of deep work. Turn them off when you need focus. App optimization, templates for repetitive tasks, email replies, reports, documents. Create templates so you don't start from scratch every time. Simple automations use tools like Zapier IFTTT or built-in features like email filters, macros, or rules to automate. Sorting, labeling, triggering small tasks. Uninstall what you don't use, fewer apps. Yikasser less clutter. Yigas fewer temptations to click something random. Each tweak is a mini process improvement in true Taylor fashion. You're gradually sanding down the friction points in your day. 4. A concrete example. Cutting email time by 50% with templates and a system. To show just how powerful time and motion study can be, let's look at something we all deal with. Email. For many people, email is a giant black hole of time. There was a time when I was spending around 2 hours a day in my inbox. My log made it painfully clear. A huge portion of that time was repetitive motions. After applying time and motion principles, I cut that down by about 50% from 2 hours to about 1 hour a day. Here's how. Step 1. Analyze wasted motions. From my log, I noticed rewriting similar replies. A lot of emails fell into similar categories. Partnership inquiries, product or content questions, general feedback, and every time I typed a fresh reply, searching for information, some replies required details, pricing, links, schedules. I kept hunting for the same info over and over. Manual sorting. I was dragging and dropping emails into folders one by one. Constant inbox checking. I was opening my inbox every 15 to 20 minutes just to see if anything new came in. Step 2. Redesign the process. Create email templates for common responses. I wrote 5-7 template responses for "Thanks for reaching out. We'll get back to you in X days." Partnership replies, product or service info, polite declines, and so on. With these, I could insert a template in 1-2 clicks, customize a few details, hit send. Time spent per email dropped from 5 to 10 minutes, down to 30 seconds to 1 minute. Set up filters and rules. Every email provider has this. I created rules so that platform notifications, YouTube, social media, etc. go straight into a notifications folder. Newsletters go into a newsletters folder. Potential client emails get tagged and moved into a leads folder. Result: my main inbox only shows emails that actually need my attention. Batch processing. Instead of checking email constantly, I scheduled 2 to 3 email blocks per day at fixed times. For example, 9 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m. During those windows, I focus only on email. Use templates. Sort quickly. No hopping back and forth between tasks. Step 3. The result. Far fewer messages in the main inbox. Much faster replies using templates. Time per email dropped dramatically. Total email time from 2 hours, 1 hour per day. And most importantly, way less stress about keeping up with email. Time and motion study is not about turning you into a machine. It's about freeing you from the mechanical, repetitive stuff so you can save your energy for what really matters. Deep work, creativity, growth, or simply more time for yourself. This is an ongoing process. You'll never be 100% optimized. But every time you analyze and improve a tiny part of your workflow, you're moving closer to working smarter, not harder. So try it. Become the Frederick Taylor of your own life. Grab a notebook or open a notes app. Start recording your workday. I think you'll be surprised by what you discover. Thanks for sticking with me through this chapter. In the next one, we'll dig into another crucial aspect of scientific management: How to build a reward and motivation system that actually works not just financially, but emotionally. Don't miss it. If you've been following along from the beginning, you've probably started to see just how powerful Frederick Winslow Taylor's ideas in the principles of scientific management really are, from the search for one best way, to the role of leadership, to the importance of bringing a scientific mindset into our work. But here's the thing. No big idea comes into the world without being misunderstood or misused. Taylorism is no exception. Sometimes when we talk about optimizing processes or improving efficiency, people immediately picture a cold, mechanical world, machines running non-stop, humans turned into robots, and everything reduced to output and numbers. And that image creates a very real trap we need to avoid. That's why in Chapter 7 we're going to do something important. Humanizing the principles, avoiding the trap of turning yourself into a robot. Our goal isn't to throw out Taylor's ideas, but to understand the criticisms, learn from past misuse, and most importantly, figure out how to apply these principles in a flexible, creative, and deeply human way to our own lives. Let's jump in. 1. Productivity isn't working non-stop. Rest is part of the science. When people hear scientific management, a lot of them instantly picture a supervisor with a stopwatch, pushing workers to go faster, harder, longer. And it's true in the past, some people applied Taylor's ideas in extreme ways, leading to burnout and dehumanization. But is that really the spirit of science? In his book, Taylor never said work 24/7. What he wanted was to find the most effective way to perform a task, to eliminate wasted motion and inefficiency. And here's the key: rest and recovery are a deeply scientific part of any performance system, whether we're talking about machines or human beings. Think about an Olympic athlete. Do they train intensely? Absolutely. Do they train non-stop? Absolutely not. Their training schedule is carefully designed periods of high intensity, followed by rest, stretching, recovery, and plenty of sleep. Why? Because the human body literally can't stay at peak performance all the time. The brain needs time to process and consolidate information. Muscles need time to repair and grow stronger. Skip the rest, and you don't just perform worse in the short term, you invite injury, exhaustion, and long-term decline. So rest is not wasted time. It's a smart investment in long-term performance. A short nap, a walk in the afternoon, or simply standing up and moving around once an hour, those aren't signs of weakness. They're scientific principles your body and mind are begging you to respect. If Taylor were alive today with access to modern neuroscience and biology, I'm convinced scientific rest would be one of his golden rules. Because a well-rested person thinks more clearly, works more intelligently, makes fewer mistakes. And that's what real productivity is, isn't it? 2. Optimization versus maximization. Choose sustainability over burnout. This distinction is absolutely crucial and often gets blurred when people try to apply scientific management to their personal lives. Maximizing means pushing everything to the absolute limit. Maximize hours worked. Maximize number of emails sent. Maximize number of meetings attended. On paper, it sounds impressive. In reality, you're racing straight toward burnout. It's like driving a race car constantly at red line. Sure, it's fast for a while, and then the engine blows. Optimizing, on the other hand, means finding the best balance, the sweet spot where you achieve high performance in a way that's sustainable. It doesn't look only at output. It also factors in quality, energy cost, long-term maintainability. When Taylor talked about the one best way, he didn't mean the fastest at any cost. He meant the most effective, least wasteful, and in the bigger picture, the best for the entire system, and a system that constantly burns out the humans inside it. That's not optimal. That's broken. Look at how you manage your time. Maximizing might look like cramming 10 tasks into your day, hoping to finish everything. Optimizing might mean choosing the 3 to 4 most important tasks, doing them really well, and still having time and energy left for yourself and your loved ones. Who's more effective over a week, a month, a year? The maximizer might win on day 1. but the optimizer preserves energy, creativity, motivación, and keeps going. So our goal is not to squeeze ourselves dry for a short burst of output. Our goal is to design a system for our life and work that allows us to continuously create value, stay healthy, and feel fulfilled over the long run. That's what a truly human version of scientific management looks like. 3. How do we blend creativity and freedom into a structured system? One of the biggest criticisms of Taylorism is that it kills creativity, turning people into soulless cogs in a machine. And yes, applied rigidly and mechanically, it absolutely can. But here's the question. Are structure and creativity really enemies? I don't think so. In fact, I'd argue that smart structure can actually unlock creativity. Think about an artist. A great painter doesn't just wing it with zero knowledge. They study color theory, composition, anatomy. A composer can't write a powerful symphony without understanding harmony, rhythm, musical form. Those rules don't kill creativity. They provide a language and a framework for expressing it more powerfully. The same is true for our work. When we build clear systems for repetitive tasks like how we outline a video script, how we edit a podcast, how we process email, our brain no longer wastes energy reinventing the process every time. That freed up mental energy can be invested in strategy, problem solving, innovation. True creative work. Taylor talked about finding one best way for specific tasks. If we use that idea intelligently, we don't create prisons for ourselves. We create solid foundation standard processes for routine work. And from that base, we're free to experiment, adapt, break the rules when needed. A good structure doesn't lock you in. It holds things up while you play. Think of it like the frame of a house. A strong frame doesn't limit how you decorate, rearrange furniture, or express your style. It just makes sure the roof doesn't collapse on your head. Applying structured principles flexibly is how you build that frame for your life and work, so you can be more creative, not less. 4. Listen to the data from your body and emotions, not just the numbers on a page. One of Taylor's biggest contributions was his insistence on data, time, motion, output, measure, analyze, improve. That's powerful, but it's not the only kind of data we have. In modern life, it's easy to get obsessed with external metrics. Tasks completed, hours worked, revenue, views and likes. These matter, but they're only part of the story. We often ignore another incredibly rich source of data, the signals from our own body and emotions. Your body is an insanely sophisticated system. When you're exhausted, headachy, tense, that's data. When you're unmotivated, numb, anxious, restless, that's data too. Ignoring those signals and forcing yourself to keep grinding just because the metrics say you're not done yet, that's not scientific, that's reckless. A good engineer listens when a machine starts making weird noises. A good pilot pays attention when warning lights blink. You should treat your body and emotions with the same respect. Try this. Every day, take a few minutes to ask, how am I feeling right now? What's my energy level from 1 to 10? Am I tense, calm, drained, inspired? Log it just like you'd log tasks or hours. Sometimes the data will say, you don't need more coffee, you need a nap. You don't need another productivity hack, you need a day off. You don't need to push harder, you need a conversation with a friend or time doing something you love. This is the ultimate personalization of scientific management. Instead of chasing a single best method for everyone, you're discovering the best method for you based on the unique data set only you have. Your body, your mind, your heart. Listening and responding to those signals is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's how you build a life and career that are sustainable, effective, and genuinely fulfilling. So we've now walked through Chapter 7, a chapter I hope gives you a more balanced, more human view of the principles of scientific management. Taylor wasn't wrong to care about efficiency. The real issue is how we define and pursue it. We've seen that rest is not laziness, it's science. It restores energy and improves quality of work. The goal is optimization, not maximization. We're aiming for sustainable performance, not short-term overdrive. Structure can actually support creativity. It gives us a solid base from which we can explore, innovate, and express ourselves. And most importantly, we must listen to the data from our own bodies and emotions. That's the most advanced monitoring system we have. At the end of the day, here's what I want you to take with you. We are not robots. We are human beings with limits, emotions, and limitless creative potential. When applied consciously, flexibly, and compassionately, the principles of scientific management can become powerful tools to optimize our lives, not to turn us into machines, but to free us, to work smarter, to live more intentionally, and to be both effective and deeply happy. Start humanizing the principles in your own life today. Work smarter, but live more human. Thank you for spending this chapter with me. I'll see you in the next ones. Awesome, we've come a long way with Frederick Winslow Taylor from time and motion studies all the way to revolutionizing factories in the early 20th century. I know when people hear the name Taylor, a lot of them picture a strict, efficiency-obsessed man who seems almost inhuman. But hold on, don't judge too fast. Because in this chapter, Taylor's legacy in the 21st century, we're going to explore a truth that might surprise you. His legacy isn't just alive. It's quietly embedded in many of the modern work methods we praise today, and even in the way you manage your own day-to-day tasks. Imagine this. If Taylor could time travel to the year 2024, I'm pretty sure he'd smile seeing how the principles he worked so hard to develop are being used everywhere, often under totally different names and usually without any credit given to him. From lean, agile, and Scrum in big tech companies, to personal productivity systems like GTD, and even the Pomodoro technique you might be using right now, all of them carry a bit of Taylor's DNA. Sounds crazy, right? Let's break it down. From Ford's assembly line to your personal Kanban board, let's rewind to the early 1900s. Henry Ford, directly inspired by Taylor's work, turned his factories into massive production machines using the assembly line. He broke the complex process of building a car into hundreds, even thousands of smaller steps. Each worker was responsible for one or two highly specific repetitive motions. The goal: eliminate waste, increase speed, maximize efficiency. It was scientific management at scale, everything standardized, measured, and optimized to keep the flow of production smooth. Now fast forward to today. Are you familiar with Kanban boards? Maybe you've got sticky notes on a wall labeled "To Do, Doing, Done." Or you use digital tools like Trello, Asana, or Jira. What's the point of Kanban? Visualize your workflow. Limit work in progress, WIP. Optimize the flow of tasks from start to finish. See the parallel? Ford's assembly line and your personal Kanban board are built on the same core philosophy. Break work into clear stages, eliminate bottlenecks, and keep things flowing smoothly. Ford used it to build cars. You use it to ship projects, complete assignments, or even manage chores at home. Both are trying to see the work, measure progress, optimize each step. Whether you realize it or not, there's a little bit of Taylor lurking in every in-progress column on your Kanban board. Scrum sprints and Pomodoro. Same core principle of chunking work. Now let's talk about two wildly popular modern methods. Scrum sprints, the Pomodoro technique. Scrum, one of the most common agile frameworks, breaks work into sprints, short fixed-length cycles, usually 1 to 4 weeks. During each sprint, the team commits to a set of tasks. There are daily stand-ups, daily Scrum to check progress, surface blockers, adjust as needed. Pomodoro is simpler but surprisingly powerful. 25 minutes of deep focus, 5 minutes of rest. Repeat. So, where does Taylor fit into this? Remember, one of his core principles was to analyze work, break it down into its smallest components, measure how long each part takes, and then standardize the process for maximum efficiency. Scrum sprints are essentially the Taylorization of complex software projects. Instead of trying to manage one massive project over a year, you slice it into shorter, manageable cycles. Each sprint has clear goals and a structured process. The work is time-boxed, observed and iterated on. Sound familiar? And Pomodoro? That's basically applying time study Taylor style to your personal workflow. A 25-minute Pomodoro is a standard time unit intentionally designed to maximize focus, maintain energy, create predictable cycles of effort and rest. Taylor would probably be thrilled to see you breaking your day into measured performance cycles like that. Both Scrum and Pomodoro emphasize breaking work into manageable units, assigning clear time boundaries, measuring and improving how you use that time. That's pure scientific management adapted for the 21st century. How David Allen GTD Taylorized information and task management. If Taylor focused on physical labor and tangible production, then David Allen, creator of Getting Things Done, GTD, essentially did the same thing for our mental workload and information flow. Think about it. Taylor dissected physical tasks to optimize how workers used shovels, tools, and movements. Allen dissects our thinking process, how we capture ideas, how we handle commitments, how we decide what to do next. GTD asks you to capture everything on your mind, ideas, tasks, obligations, worries, into a trusted inbox. Clarify each item. Oh, what is this? Is it actionable? What's the next action? Organize into the right buckets. Calendar. Project lists. Next actions. Waiting for list. Reference. That is scientific management for the digital age. Taylor wanted to standardize how workers used shovels to move coal. Allen wants to standardize how we shovel information and tasks out of our heads and into systems where we can act on them clearly and consistently. He takes the clarity, structure, and systematic thinking of scientific management and applies it to your brain, your workflow, your to-do list. So instead of thinking about thinking, you're processing and organizing information. That's Taylor's spirit upgraded and applied to our cognitive lives. Realizing you've been using these principles all along. By now, I hope you're starting to see Taylor in a different light. Maybe you're using Trello. Maybe you're breaking your day into Pomodoro sessions. Maybe you're trying to capture and clarify tasks like GTD. The fun part? You've been applying the core principles of scientific management without even realizing it. We often criticize Taylor for ignoring the human side, for focusing so heavily on efficiency that things can start to feel mechanical. Those criticisms are valid and important, but we also can't deny this. The basic principles he uncovered, analyzing work, measuring it, standardizing it, finding the most effective way, eliminating waste, are the foundation of almost every modern productivity and workflow system. Methods like Lean, Agile, and Scrum aren't total rejections of Taylor. They're evolutions. They take his core ideas and adapt them to complex, creative, human-centered environments. Lean still aims to eliminate waste just like Taylor. Agile still uses short cycles and constant improvement, very Taylor-esque, but with a heavy emphasis on feedback, collaboration, and human needs. They keep the spirit of continuous improvement and efficiency. But they put people at the center, empowering teams, encouraging autonomy, embracing change. So next time you finish a sprint, move a card across your Kanban board, complete a Pomodoro session, remember this: you're standing on the shoulders of a giant. Taylor may be controversial, but his way of thinking, his systems mindset, and his obsession with improving how work gets done still shapes how we work, how we organize our lives, and how we try to become more productive every day. And maybe that is his greatest legacy. Not a rigid set of factory rules, but a way of thinking, a scientific approach to understanding, analyzing, and improving any kind of work. From building cars to managing your inbox. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into the lessons we can take from Taylor and how to apply these principles, wisely balancing efficiency with human growth in the digital age. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel. I'm WealthRise Stories, and if you joined me in the previous video where we broke down Frederick Winslow Taylor's principles of scientific management, you might be thinking, okay, this all sounds big picture and industrial. But how do I actually use this in my everyday life? How do I turn these early 1900s ideas about factory efficiency into tools to improve my work, my studies, or even my household chores? That is an awesome question, and it's exactly why I'm here today. We're not going to turn you into a non-stop productivity robot. Instead, we're going to build a personal performance system that's smarter, more efficient, and most importantly, gives you more time and energy for the things that truly matter in your life. I've put together a 7-day action plan, a practical step-by-step roadmap you can start using right away to apply what we've learned. Think of this as your own personal science experiment. You are the scientist, and your life is the lab. Ready? Let's dive in. Day Rosin 2. Observe and record. Become the scientist of your own life. On day 1 and day 2, we're going to start with the most basic step of any scientific process: observation and recording. Remember how Taylor carefully tracked every movement workers made in the factory? We're going to do the same thing. But for you, goal for these 2 days: pick one recurring process in your life that you feel could use improvement. It could be how you make breakfast each morning, how you process your email inbox, how you prep for your weekly meeting. Just one. Don't get greedy yet. How to do it. Choose a process. Pick something you do often that feels a bit clunky, slow, or more tiring than it should be. Observe without judgment. For these 2 days, whenever you do that task, act like a neutral observer. Don't change anything yet. Just watch what you do. Record every step in detail. Use a notebook, your phone's notes app, or any tool you like. Write down everything, every step, even the tiny ones. How long each step takes. Any distractions that show up. Example: making coffee. Grab mug 5s, fill kettle 10s, turn on stove 3s. Wait for water to boil 2 mines. Pour water into filter 15s. Wait for coffee to drip 5 mains. Distractions: scrolled on my phone for 2 minutes while waiting. Personal note: I used to complain about how long it took me to prep YouTube videos. It felt like the process just dragged. But when I started actually tracking what I was doing, I realized I was wasting tons of time just looking for the right script file, debating which visuals to use, redoing things because I had no clear system. That simple act of writing things down was a mini wake-up call, and it opened the door to fixing it. For these first 2 days, be curious, not critical. Don't think, ugh, I'm doing this wrong. Think, oh, so this is how I actually do it. Days 1-2 are all about gathering raw data, nothing more. Day 3-4, analyze and redesign. Find the best way and cut the waste. Nice. Now you've got your data. Time to put on your efficiency engineer hat. On day 3 and day 4, we're going to analyze what you recorded and redesign your process. The goal: find your own one best way, the most effective, least draining way to complete that task, just like Taylor did for physical labor. How to do it? Review your notes. Go through your log step by step. Start asking why. Why am I doing this step? Is it actually necessary? Can I combine this step with another? Can I eliminate it completely? Is there a faster or easier way to do this? Look for waste. Unnecessary motions, extra walking, reaching, searching for items. Dead time. Waiting around, scrolling your phone, aimless wandering. Information overload. Reading irrelevant emails, checking news you don't need, etc. Repetition. Doing the same thing multiple times because there's no system. Design your new process. Now rewrite the process like a script. Imagine you're a director rearranging scenes to make the movie flow better. List the steps in a more logical order. Clearly mark steps you've removed or combined. If possible, estimate how long each step should take in the new version. Personal example: I used to get annoyed by how much time weekly lunch prep took. After logging it, I realized I kept pulling veggies out of the fridge, putting them back, taking them out again, over and over. When I analyzed it, I realized I could just wash, chop, portion everything in one batch, store it in containers for the whole week. That one change saved me around 30 minutes a week and a ton of mental stress. That's the power of removing unnecessary steps. Don't be afraid to be ruthless. If a step doesn't add value, cut it. Day 5, 6. Implement and tweak. Test the new system and fine-tune it. Time to roll up your sleeves. On day 5 and day 6, we're going to take your redesigned process and test it in real life. This is the run the experiment phase. Don't expect perfection. This is about learning and adjusting. How to do it. Use your new process. Each time you do that task, follow your new script as closely as you can. Track the results again. Ask yourself, did you save time? How much? Did the task feel less stressful? Was there any step that still felt clunky or awkward? Did you forget steps or feel like something was missing? Write that all down. This is your feedback loop. Refine and adjust. Based on what you notice, maybe you need to add back a small step you forgot. Maybe you need to change the order of certain steps. Maybe some parts feel more natural done a different way. Don't treat this as failure. Treat it as data. You're just refining your experiment. Personal note. The first time I tried to follow a new schedule for creating content, it felt stiff. Sometimes I'd forget what to do next. Sometimes I'd get stuck or feel resistant. Instead of giving up, I wrote down where I got stuck, noted how I felt, tweaked the schedule, added reminders, rearranged my workspace a bit. After a few rounds of adjustments, the system started to click with my natural rhythm and working style. Be patient with yourself. Change takes time. Day 5 Musky, Walduck are your test runs to get the system working for you, not the other way around. Day 7. Review and rest. Celebrate the wins and recharge for what's next. You made it. You've just completed a full week of doing scientific management on yourself. Day 7 is about 2 things. Looking back, charging up, because a sustainable productivity system always includes rest. How to do it. Do a full review. Compare your original process notes from day 1-2, your new process in action notes from day 5-6. Ask yourself, how much time did you save? Do you feel less stressed? Are you getting better results? What did you learn about how you actually work? Acknowledge your progress. Seriously, give yourself some credit. Even if the improvement is small, you collected data, analyzed it, redesigned a process, tested it, and refined it. That's you applying scientific principles to your own life. That is huge. Optionally plan next steps. Do you want to keep using this new process going forward? Is there another recurring task you might want to analyze next week? No pressure, but if you enjoyed this, you can repeat the 7-day cycle with a new area. Rest. This is non-negotiable. Do something you enjoy with zero productivity guilt. Read a book, go for a walk, hang out with friends or family, watch a movie, or just do nothing for a bit. Your mind and body need recovery if you want to keep performing well over the long term. Personal note. On weekends, I like to review not just work, but personal goals too. I celebrate small wins like finally cleaning up my workspace, and I take notes on what didn't go as planned. Then I shut the laptop, go to the park, listen to an audiobook, or just spend quality time with family. Rest isn't wasted time. It's strategic fuel for long-term productivity. So there you have it, my friends. In just 7 days, you can go from someone who feels like they're constantly reacting to work to someone who's consciously engineering their own life. You don't have to be a factory manager to use scientific management thinking. You can be the tailor of your own life. The real power lies in understanding how you actually operate, spotting bottlenecks and friction points, and constantly searching for your best way of doing things. I truly hope this 7-day roadmap becomes a powerful starting point for your personal performance journey. Try it, and then tell me how it goes in the comments. What process did you choose to improve? What changed for you? What surprised you the most? I can't wait to hear your stories. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content. And make sure to tap the notification bell too. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Remember, productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things in a smarter way. I'll see you in the next chapters. Hey there, I'm WealthRise Stories, Welcome back to the channel where we dive into classic books and turn them into practical inspiration for modern life. We've just walked through the ideas of Frederick Winslow Taylor in The Principles of Scientific Management, a book that honestly laid the groundwork for a lot of the management concepts we take for granted today. It sounds dry industrial, even a bit stiff at first, right? But trust me, there are real gems in Taylor's work that are still incredibly relevant, maybe even more so in our chaotic, fast-paced work world today. And now to pull everything together, I want to distill all of that into 3 core lessons you can easily remember, carry with you, and apply right away to your work and your personal life. Think of these as 3 golden keys to unlock higher performance, more clarity, and a more proactive mindset. Lesson 1, and probably the most important: replace guesswork with data. Measure what matters in your work so you can make better decisions. As humans, we love to rely on gut feelings and subjective experience. I feel like this is the best way to do it. In my experience, this usually works. Sound familiar? It sure does to me. There were times when I was working non-stop, constantly busy, feeling super productive. But at the end of the day, everything still felt messy and the truly important things weren't moving forward. Why? Because I was operating on guesswork. Guessing about what was effective. Guessing where my time was really going. Taylor's Scientific Management teaches us something very simple, but incredibly powerful. Stop guessing. Start measuring. When he watched workers at Bethlehem Steel, he didn't just feel like they were inefficient. He literally took a stopwatch, timed each motion, logged every step, tracked how much coal was moved. He collected data patiently and precisely. And it was that hard data that showed him exactly where the waste was, where bottlenecks existed, and exactly how to improve things. In our modern world, you don't need to time every email or every meeting with a stopwatch. But you should be asking, what actually matters most in my work? Is it the number of clients you talk to each day? The number of hours you spend in deep, uninterrupted work? The number of meaningful ideas you generate in a brainstorming session? The conversion rate on your marketing campaigns? Once you start measuring the things that truly matter, some really cool things happen. You get an objective picture of your performance. You can clearly see weaknesses that used to be just a vague feeling. You have concrete evidence to test new methods and see if they genuinely work. And most importantly, you start making decisions based on reality, not emotion. Try starting small. Want to write more? Track how many minutes per day you actually spend writing. Want to waste less time on social media? Use screen time tracking apps to see the real number. Data doesn't lie. It's the most trustworthy compass you have for improvement. Lesson 2. Find your own best way. There is no one-size-fits-all method. Keep experimenting and optimizing your personal workflow. Taylor is famous for chasing the one best way, one single optimal method to perform a specific task. In a factory setting with repetitive tasks and the need for consistency, that made perfect sense. But in today's world of knowledge work, where each of us is a unique mix of strengths, weaknesses, habits, and environments, trying to impose one single best way for everyone can backfire. So what's the real takeaway for us? Use Taylor's scientific mindset to discover your own best way of working. That means you shouldn't follow any system just because experts recommend it. All successful people do this. Treat those methods as hypotheses, not commandments. Someone swears by the Pomodoro technique. Try it for a week and measure the results. Remember, Lesson 1. Does it fit your rhythm? Or do you need longer or shorter focus blocks? People tell you to make a to-do list the night before. Experiment. Does it help you sleep better and start your day with clarity, or does it make you feel pressured and you'd rather plan in the morning? You're using a project management app. Keep checking. Is it actually saving you time or just adding another layer of complexity? The spirit of Taylor is not rigid obedience. It's flexible experimentation in search of optimal results. Your life and work are constantly changing. What was best for you last year might not be best today. So think of yourself as a scientist, continuously experimenting with your workflows, your habits, your tools, your schedule. Write down what works, what doesn't, adjust, and keep testing. The goal isn't to find one magic formula and never touch it again. The goal is to build a continuous improvement mindset, the ability to adapt and self-optimize so you can stay effective as your life evolves. That's the real power of finding your own best way. Lesson 3. You are both the manager and the worker. Balance strategic planning with focused execution. In Taylor's world, there was a clear divide. Managers, the planners, analysts, system designers. Workers, the doers, the executors who followed the plan. That made sense in factories. But in modern life, especially if you're a freelancer, a creator, a knowledge worker, or anyone with a lot of autonomy, you are often both the person who sets the strategy and the person who does the work. You don't have a boss carefully designing your day for you. You are that boss. The problem is we often get stuck at one extreme. Too much manager. You spend all your time planning, reading productivity books, watching videos on how to organize your life, but you don't actually get much done. You're a master strategist with no execution. Too much worker. You grind non-stop, replying to emails, jumping into meetings, coding, writing. But you never step back to plan, prioritize, or set a direction. You're a highly efficient machine with no map. The lesson here is, create clear space for both roles in your life. Time for your inner manager. This is when you step out of the daily grind and look at the bigger picture. What are my long-term goals? What are my top priorities for this week, month? Is there any process I should improve? What skills do I need to develop? This could be 15-30 minutes each morning, a weekly review session, or even a half day once a month. Think of it as restocking and reorganizing the warehouse before production starts. Time for your inner worker. Once the plan is clear, it's time to get your hands dirty. Here, your only job is to execute. Focus deeply on one task at a time. Turn off distractions. Follow the plan your manager self already laid out. This is where discipline and focus come in. Learning to switch between these two modes intentionally is a superpower. Know when you're in thinking and planning mode versus doing and executing mode. Try not to mix them too much. If you plan while you're supposed to be executing, you lose momentum. If you execute without ever planning, you burn out or get lost. A healthy rhythm between strategic thinking and focused doing gives you both direction and high-quality output. That's how you move further, faster, and sustainably. So those are the 3 core lessons from the principles of scientific management that I truly believe can change the way you work and live. Replace guesswork with data. Measure what matters so you can make better decisions. Find your own best way. Keep experimenting and optimizing your personal workflow. You are both manager and worker. Balance strategic planning with focused execution. These aren't just theories pulled from an old dusty book. They're timeless principles, powerful tools you can use to take control of your work, take ownership of your life, and build a more effective, intentional version of yourself. Start today. Pick just one of these 3 lessons and apply it to one small area of your life. You might be surprised at how quickly things start to shift in a positive direction. So we've just wrapped up our journey through The Principles of Scientific Management, a book that might sound intimidating with its dry scientific title. But I hope by now you've seen that it holds timeless ideas that are not only still relevant, but incredibly powerful in our chaotic modern lives. From breaking tasks into smaller steps, to finding the best way to do something, to eliminating even the smallest sources of waste. These ideas are seeds of wisdom that continue to grow, as you've seen. Even though this book was written over a century ago, Taylor's principles aren't just for steel mills or assembly lines. You can spot them in how mobile apps are optimized to streamline user experience in personal time management courses, or even in how a professional chef organizes their kitchen for maximum efficiency. The point isn't to turn yourself into a machine. It's to unlock your full potential in smarter, less exhausting, and dare I say, more joyful ways. What will you optimize first? Now it's your turn. Let me ask you this honestly. Is there a habit or task in your personal life or work that feels less than optimal, something that's quietly draining your time and energy for no good reason? I'm really curious to know. Maybe it's how you prep breakfast every morning and it always takes longer than it should. Maybe it's your email inbox that's constantly overflowing. Or maybe it's how you organize files on your laptop and it always takes forever to find what you need. Perhaps it's how you plan a personal project. Tell us in the comments. What's one routine or task you're going to analyze, measure, and improve using scientific management principles? Where will you start? What will you observe? I truly believe that if we share openly down below, not only will we learn from each other, but we'll slowly build a bank of practical ideas to help all of us optimize our daily lives. Don't hesitate. There's no idea too small or too silly. If this video has given you even one new idea, no matter how small, to rethink the way you work, manage your time, or even live more efficiently, that makes me incredibly happy. Please hit the like button to let me know this kind of content is valuable to you and our community. It also tells YouTube to share this with more people who might find it helpful. And if you're excited to keep diving into classic books and world-changing ideas, but explained in a way that's simple, modern, and actionable, so we can apply them right here, right now, then don't miss what's coming next. Make sure to subscribe, and even more importantly, turn on notifications so you won't miss any of the deep dive videos coming your way. We're building a community of curious, growth-minded learners, and I'd be honored for you to be a part of it. Finally, if you know someone feeling overwhelmed, struggling with work or time management, or stuck in a routine that just doesn't work, share this video with them. Who knows, a scientific yet practical approach like Taylor's might be exactly what they need to break free from unnecessary stress and reclaim control. Let's spread the value together. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I always appreciate your presence, your thoughts, and your energy here in our community. See you in the next video where we'll keep optimizing knowledge and life together. Take care and bye for now.